I don't know if you could, here's the gavel. I will, you won't see me hit it, but you'll know I'm holding it. I'd like to call to order the annual business meeting of the Society for the Preservation of Natural History Collections. It's the 10th of June, 2020. I guess the head count of attendees is going on. So what we'll do is have a call to order. And the first thing, presumably you all have the annual business meeting packet, and we'll be referring to that throughout, so you might want to keep that handy. The first thing we want to do is have a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting. Could I have a motion? Someone needs to speak up.
Motion to approve the agenda by Paul.
Yeah, when you do this, if you make a motion, please say your name. And if you second the motion, please say your name then, so Cindy can record it. So thank you, Paul. Can we have a second?
This is Marielle. I second.
Marielle, okay. Now we have to have a vote.
Cue the vote. There it is.
There it is. Cue the vote. Come on. Oh.
Yeah, hosts and panelists can't vote on the poll.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
We say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Looks unanimous.
Okay, the motion has passed. Also, in the annual business meeting packet, you will find the meetings of our last meeting, which was held on May 29th, 2019 at the Field Museum in Chicago, Illinois. Could we now have a motion to accept the minutes of the last business meeting?
I motion that we accept the meetings. Carol Kelloff.
Thank you, Carol. Could we have
Second, Amanda Lawrence.
Amanda Lawrence seconds. Thank you very much. Could we have a vote, please? And remember those of us who are.
Aye.
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 Okay, looks like it's unanimous. Very good. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the President's report, which is on page 11 of the packet. I will just say refer to the written report. And now the Treasurer's report. So just a word about the Treasurer. You may have a sense of deja vu that the Treasurer is Ruth O'Leary, even though she stepped down from her position last year. The reason for that is that our treasurer, Melinda Peters, was unable to complete her term and had to drop out. And Ruth heroically stepped in at pretty much the last minute to get the financial report ready. And we cannot thank her enough for this. But I would like to entertain a motion to, wait, what do we do now? Oh yeah, we accept the new members for 2019 and 2020 that are listed in the packet. Could I have a motion?
Motion to accept the new members by Paul.
Okay. Could we have a second to that motion?
I second Ruth O'Leary.
Thank you, Ruth. Could we have a vote? Yes. And members of the panel? Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay. Oh, the numbers are going up. Okay. Okay, thanks very much. Now we would like to have a motion to accept the report of the past treasurer and the 2020 budget as amended.
Does Ruth want to give that presentation or no?
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, yeah, I'm skipping that. Please give the presentation, Ruth, for all that. We do not want to say that.
I've been looking forward to this. Okay, here's a report of the treasurer. It is found on pages 13 and 14 of the annual report. I'll read the narrative on page 13. You may refer to the 2019 budget on page 16 and the 2020 budget on page 17. In 2019, the Society's total net assets increased to $424,377 from a total of $333,753 the previous year. Liabilities and net assets for 2019 totaled $438,493. Operating income was generated from three sources: membership dues, publication sales, and advertising in the newsletter. A total of $35,819 in membership dues was received. Sales of our 6 publications plus royalty payments brought in $2,219. Advertising the newsletter generated $1,920 in income. A total of $20,145 in donations was received. 42 subscribers and 610 individuals, institutional, corporate, and student members were active for the year 2019. Of the 652 Spinach members in 2019, 184 joined for the first time. Major expenses for the Society in 2019 were $13,083 for publication expenses related to the new storage book, $11,038 for the publication of Collection Forum, Volume 31, $5,000 for the annual meeting loan to the Edinburgh LOC, which was later converted to a gift, $3,750 for the Christine Allen and Fitzgerald travel grants, $3,350 for the design of the new website, $1,700 for membership booth space rental and transportation to meetings, and $1,080 for printing extra copies of storage, ideas, and museum studies. Additional expenses include $750 for the sponsorship of annual congressional district visits, $490 for online hosting of the spring 2019 newsletter, and $275 for annual fees to Crossref PILA. The Treasurer's Office incurred the following expenses: $6,240 for the 2018 financial review, tax preparation and filing, $695 in merchant fees, $538 for insurance, $262 in annual fees for the PO box rental, and $228 for the annual fee for QuickBooks. Long-term investments were consistent with the market. Spinach investments saw a market value gain of $19,068, while the money market account earned $5,178 in dividends and interest. The CD account earned $92 in interest. The first part of 2020 has seen good income activity. By April 30th, $20,985 has been received from membership dues, including deferred dues paid in 2019. As of April 30th, 2020, we have 480 active members, including life members. Membership renewals included 26 student, 334 individual, 14 library, and 22 institutional. As of April 30th, 60 new members have joined for 2020, of which 17 are student memberships, 2 were institutional, and the remainder are individual. By May 26th, 301 members who paid in 2019 had yet to renew for 2020. Please pay your dues on time. In the first quarter of 2020, sales of all our publications, including the new storage book published in 2019, totaled $22,680. We have received $4,895 in unrestricted donations and $300 in restricted donations. A sincere thank you to all. Expenses incurred in 2020 as of April 30th include $18,286 for publication expenses related to the new storage book, $8,516 for Collection Forum, Volume 32, $1,001 for membership booth space rental and transportation to meetings in 2019, $866 in merchant fees, $275 for annual fees to Crossref PILA, and $255 for the 2019 election. The Society anticipates expenses related to publications, insurance premiums, the Faber Award, the trade show booth, and 2020 online election. Please contact the Spinach President for further details. For their help throughout the year, and especially in recent weeks, I'd like to extend thanks to Barbara Tears, Linda Ford, Deborah Trock, Cindy Opitz, Marielle Campbell, Tiffany O'Drain, Lisa Palmer, and Suzanne McLaren. And now I need a motion from the floor to approve, I think, the 2020 budget. Oh, and I also forgot to mention if anybody has any questions about the report of the treasurer. Anyone?
No.
Okay.
This is Mary Ell. I move to approve the 2020 budget.
Could we have a second?
Second by Paul.
Okay, I think this is the right poll. If it's not, Cindy, tell me.
Looks right.
Yep.
Aye.
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 Oh, boy, people have been joining. Numbers are rising.
Barbara, there has been a call in the chat to leave it up a little longer to give people time to vote,
Oh, okay,
or give a little more time for them to vote.
sure. Was I controlling that? I might have been. I'm sorry. I was just getting it out of the way of my image. I didn't realize I was cutting it off for everybody. So sure, yeah, no problem. It looks like we're at a, oops, nope. We're getting there. Has everybody voted? Looks like the numbers have.
Yeah, I don't see the results.
The results, well, oh, really? So what I see is we have 93 out of 109 people who voted so far. Everyone has voted yes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Do we keep it open until we get to 109, or do we think?
Oh, they're probably not all voting members anyway.
Okay, fine. So we'll just end the poll now. Okay, sorry about that. I had no idea that I was the one.
There's a question in the chat. How much money was lost due to COVID-19 because of the change of meeting to online?
Well, $5,000 for one thing, because we decided, so Edinburgh was facing a lot of lost money because of canceling the meeting. So we allowed them to keep the $5,000 loan that Spinach makes to the meeting. We allowed them to keep that as a gift to help fill the hole of their expenses. So that much. I don't know if there's any other thing that we can especially identify. Cindy, Ruth, Marielle?
That money is usually tracked by the LOC. So the Spinach treasurer, apart from the loan, as you point out, and any repayment of that, generally none of the money flows through Spinach itself. The one thing that you could guess at is that sometimes in the run-up to a meeting, we have a small surge in membership renewals or new members joining, because they're joining at the same time that they're registering for the meeting. However, that probably happened as people were registering. I don't know what the timing was for registering for the meeting. So there's a possibility that there's some members who didn't bother renewing, or some new members that we missed out on. Having said that, that's sometimes offset by the fact that depending on where the meeting is held. So in the past, we saw a small dip in membership numbers if the meeting was held outside of North America. That dip and that trend hasn't really held up too much in the last few years, because I think we're getting more European members and so on. So there's a possibility, but you know, it would be kind of difficult to parse that out, I think, in terms of membership. Otherwise, Spinach itself, it would have been the LOC that took the financial hit rather than Spinach.
Are there any other questions?
So I can come in on this if that.
Oh, hi, Elspeth. Sure.
Hi there. just as one of the LOC in Edinburgh, we don't yet have the final figure for the deficit. I can see someone was asking. We're still in discussion with some of the suppliers on some of the terms of postponing the bookings and potentially transferring the bookings to other suppliers. So there's still some work ongoing on that. So we don't really have the final figure yet of the deficit. But you're right. I mean, that was agreed that would be taken by the two partner institutes who were going to be jointly hosting the conference. But to some extent, I mean, there is some costs that we will lose completely, but some of the suppliers are being really helpful about transferring things to 2 years' time.
That's great. Is there anything else anybody would like to ask or comment on about the treasurer's report? Okay, so then I think we're ready to ask for a motion to accept the report of the treasurer as amended and found in the ABM packet.
Motion to accept, Amanda Lawrence.
Okay, and could we have a second to that? Thank you, Amanda.
I second, Linda.
Thank you very much, Linda. All right, now we will vote.
Aye.
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 Wait, who was that? Amanda?
Amanda and Linda.
Aye.
Aye, Mariel.
We have another question in the
Yeah.
Q&A about what does it mean that the Edinburgh meeting will be in 2 years' time, from Deb Harding.
Well, so it's been postponed 2 years, but I think I'll turn that over to Elspeth to say more about, if that's okay, Elspeth.
Yes, I'm just also aware that Sankuri from the National Museum of Scotland is also present at the AGM. I hadn't realised.
Okay.
So she may want to also take this.
I just allowed Sankuri to talk to, so she wants to unmute.
Hi all. As far as I know, SPNHC had agreed that we would postpone for 2 years. So we definitely would expect to be holding the meeting in 2022.
Yep. Does that answer the question? Did you need more information?
We'll talk a little bit about that in the
Yeah, there'll be more coming up about future meetings. Okay, so okay, I keep getting this. So I think we've done the treasurer's report, right? That's been voted on. The poll keeps showing up. I don't think we want to relaunch it. Should I just close it out?
Yep.
For those of you that are on the panelist side, don't touch the poll thing because you keep relaunching it and sharing it with everyone.
Oh, so I should not touch it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's a quirk.
I will keep my hands off. Sorry. Okay. Can we all just take a minute by ourselves to give Ruth a round of applause for the really amazing job she did for us? Thank you.
Sure thing. It was my pleasure.
Okay, so we'll move on to the reports of the standing committees. Unless you have something to you want to expand on beyond your written report, you know what to say. We'll start off with archives.
Refer to the report.
Thank you. Best practices. Rita and Jessica.
Refer to the written report. I just want to say thank you to my co-chair, Jessica. We're stepping down and handing over the baton to Emily Breaker and Genevieve Tachi.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And thank you for your service. Bylaws, Linda Ford.
Refer to the written report, and this committee is chaired by the past president, so I'll be stepping down and Barbara Thiers will be taking it over.
Yes. Conference, Paul Meyer, Mayor.
Refer to the written report. Will we be doing a slideshow in the new business?
Yes.
All right.
Conservation, Rebecca or Fran?
Refer to the written report.
Thank you very much. Elections, Bethany? Is Bethany here? Oh, yes, I see her. Bethany? Well, oh, she seems to be muted.
Yeah,
No.
she's muted.
Not muted, no.
She was having trouble with audio the other day, so
Okay, right, well,
we can
well-
go to
Type
that.
it in the chat.
yeah, she could put it in the chat. Yep, okay.
All right,
Refer
thank
to the written report, thank you very much. So this is the time now, we are now opening the floor for for nominees for 2 new members at large for election in the fall. We have 2 open positions, so please consider nominating yourself or a colleague for this important position. Members at large is a great way to learn how the society works. And for the current ones, they've worked very, very hard this time, many of them managing the meeting. So please consider this if you have any interest. Emerging professionals, Carrie or Mariana?
Refer to the written report, and please come join us this Friday to our social.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Barbara, you do have a hand up in the.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Correction.
Yes.
It's down again.
Never mind.
Okay. All right, very good. Legislation and regulations, Dirk or Stephanie? I think it was Stephanie who was going to report.
Please refer to the written report.
Well done. Okay, long-range planning. Well, I guess this is Paul. But Paul hasn't actually, I mean, so let's just say that the other change that's taken place in Spinach leadership is that Deb Trock, who was the president-elect and would have been in charge of the conference and long-range planning committees, has resigned her position. She is taking an early retirement package offered by her institution, and therefore, is going to really just be leaving the field, and did not feel that she would have the facilities to continue in this role. This happened, about 10 days ago, maybe. What we've had to do some shifting. Paul is now stepping into the president's role and then stepped in at the very last minute to fill these 2 committee chairs. We'll say more about that later. So I'm not sure, do we have a long-range planning report?
There's one in the packet.
Okay, so I'll just say refer to the written report. Membership, Tiffany.
Please refer to the written report.
Thank you. Professional development, Jeff or Nick? Are either of them here? Drew, okay, from Drew.
All right,
Drew
thank
says,
you.
yeah, please refer to the written report. Very good, thank you. Publications, Marielle.
Please refer to the written report.
Thank you. Recognition and grants, Linda.
Please refer to the written report. Also, there'll be more later. And this is another committee that's chaired by the past president, and so I'll be stepping down, and Barbara Thiers will be taking over at the end of ABM.
Okay, thanks. Web and social media, Leah.
Please refer to the written report.
Thank you very much. Now we move on to the reports of the sessional committees, beginning with collections, theft, and security monitoring and collections. Paul?
We will have that symposium next year at the meeting. So look forward to that. And if you submitted an abstract, please resubmit it for the next year's meeting on collection theft and collection monitoring. Thank you.
Thank you. Collections in the biodiversity crisis, Libby.
Please refer to the written report.
Thank you. Education, Anna.
Refer to the written report.
Thank you. International relations, Deb Paul.
Please refer to the written report and consider there was a piece added to last year's Susan Ryder's submitted report. I added a bit about potential for Slack and using that as a member benefit, and potentially that could help also justify a cost increase because you get an added benefit. Thanks.
Okay. U.S. federal collections. We don't have a chair of that committee at the moment. I forget now. Was a report submitted? No. So we have no report. Okay. For expediency for the representative reports, that is the people who in Spinach who serve as representatives on other societies, we will say refer to the written report unless anybody there has any who's one of those people, one of those representatives has anything they'd like to say in addition to their written report.
There's a question in the Q&A about when we're accepting nominations for members at large. And yes, the floor has been opened for nominations for members at large.
And how do we accept them?
And what is the deadline for nominations?
What is the deadline?
Which Rabbler's asking in the chat.
Yeah, Bethany usually tells us that. Bethany says deadline is September. And usually you email Bethany, right? BethanyPalumbo@gmail.com.
Yeah, she has that in the chat as well.
Okay,
We'll put out a message on NH Call about this too.
It's like somebody's nominated themselves in the Q&A.
They have.
Yeah.
We have a couple of nominations already, so which is really great.
Well, that's
Yay.
terrific. Yay. So Bethany, you can see those, right? You can record those. That's fantastic. Very good. I love that. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to new business. And we're going to start new business with memorials to members of our society who have passed away in the past year. And I think we're going to begin with a presentation by, it's by Deb Metzger and Tim White. I believe Deb is the one presenting. And this is a tribute to Janet Waddington, a very important early Spinach member who passed away this year.
Are Tim or Deb here? Can somebody unmute them? And just let me know when you want to advance slides.
Andy, they both should be panelists.
Do they know how to advance slides in this? Have they done that in Zoom before? They may not know they.
Well, I'm sharing my screen.
Oh, I see.
So they're going to have to ask me to advance the slides for them.
Hey, Andy, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm talking to Deb now. She's having a problem with her mute.
Okay.
Mute. There. Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I apologize. Okay. Thank you very much. Janet Waddington recognized instantly by her enduring smile and sense of fun, was a Spinach founding member. Janet died in January 2020 after a brief struggle with pancreatic cancer. This tribute to her life, career, and contributions was a collaborative effort by Tim White, Peabody Museum, Kevin Seymour, Royal Ontario Museum, and myself, Deb Metzger from the ROM. We are grateful to Lisa McLaren, Sue Palmer, Pete Fenton, and Janet's husband, Dennis, for their input. Slide 2. Janet Waddington's passion for museums dated to her childhood, when she would visit the ROM every weekend. The granddaughter of James Morrow Oxley, whose architecture firm designed the ROM's 1933 East Wing, she almost literally had the museum in her blood. After completing a master's degree in geology at the University of Toronto, she joined the Department of Invertebrate Paleontology at the Royal Ontario Museum in 1971, serving first as research assistant and then curatorial assistant and assistant curator. Next. Her primary role was in collection management, and her career began by preparing and publishing a catalog of type specimens, which has been used as a template and model by collection managers in other museums. Next. Her academic interests lay in amber, Silurian scorpions, and eurypterids of Ontario, resulting in 29 presented and over 50 published papers. Next. Her academic achievements were crowned post-retirement with the completion of her study of some newly discovered Silurian marine scorpion fossils from the Aramosa Formation of the Bruce Peninsula, Ontario, that had come into the collections from members of the public over several years. She is seen here measuring the holotype. Next. In 2015, the German paleontologists Joachim and Carolyn Hoag named a species of early Cretaceous insect after Janet, Ratablata waddingtoni. The Hoags had spent many months at the ROM studying the collection and interacting with Janet and admired her greatly. Next. Janet's passion for and in-depth knowledge of the fossils and geology of Southern Ontario made her an in-demand public speaker, lecturing to public, professional, and student audiences alike as an invaluable participant in the ROM's identification clinic and a fantastic tour guide behind the scenes in the invertebrate paleontology collections. Next. Her interest in museum history and collections management were married in many of her projects, including the move of collections on and off site. She documented not only the collections, but also historical gallery components, like these George Reed murals that were installed in the Gallery of Invertebrate Paleontology in the 1930s and later put in offsite storage. Next. In the 1980s, she was in charge of the move of the collections to the newly built Curatorial Center and also was very involved with databasing them. These activities drew her to the first collections care workshop in Ottawa in 1984. Committed to the concept of a professional association devoted to the care of collections, she organized the second collections care workshop at the ROM the following year, drawing all of her ROM colleagues into her passion. Next. Janet co-published the proceedings of that workshop with her longtime colleague, David Rudkin, setting the stage for her long association with the Spinach Journal Collections Forum and demonstrating her belief that collections issues and care were as deserving of peer-reviewed publication as academic subjects were. Next. Thus began a passionate entanglement between her work for and at the ROM and her commitment to the newly formed Society for the Preservation of Natural History Collections. Skills and knowledge gained through Spinach workshops were brought back to the ROM and used not only in her own collections management work, but to set standards for the institution. She became a certified occupational health and safety representative and co-chaired the ROM's Joint Health and Safety Committee for many years. At the same time, she was a devoted member of Spinach, attending all meetings, and serving the Society on the board of directors in a number of different roles, including a 6-year stint as managing editor of Collections Forum. In 1998, her service was recognized with the Spinach President's Award. Next. Part of that recognition was for the very successful 10th anniversary meeting held in Toronto in 1995. As local committee organizer, Janet endorsed a joint proposal by the ROM Botany Department and the Spinach Education Committee to hold the Society's first discipline-specific workshop. This was part of Janet's commitment to bringing new disciplines into the spinach fold, for prior to that, there were very few botany members in the Society. She was a strong supporter of the subsequent publication, Managing the Modern Herbarium. Next. Over the years, Janet contributed to designing and building 4 new galleries at the ROM. Her most recent role was as coordinating curator for the design and construction of the Gallery of the Age of Dinosaurs in its new Crystal home. Aspects of that process were recorded in the 90th Parallel Productions National Film Board of Canada documentary, The Museum. There aren't many invertebrate paleontologists who build vertebrate galleries, but Janet did so with aplomb, working side by side with co-coordinator Kevin Seymour. Their tasks included trips to the Tucson Gem, Mineral, and Fossil Show, where Janet patiently posed as a scale for the stag moose. Next. Janet's central position in this gallery team photo is emblematic of the dynamic leadership and energy that she gave to the completion of this ROM flagship gallery. Next. Janet was a people person, and her professional successes were a tribute to her congeniality and the many close working relationships that she developed with her colleagues. She retired from the ROM in 2012 after 40 years of passionate involvement, but her involvement in Spinach and other societies continued long past that. Next. Janet was proud and devoted to her family. Her husband of 49 years, Dennis Waddington, her children, Andrew and Sarah, her grandchildren. Next. In retirement, Janet and Dennis spent many hours at Belly Acres, their property in Port Hope, where they tended 200 acres of forest. A legacy to her parents, it is managed as a wildlife and forest refuge with walking and cross-country ski trails. Just being there, tending trails, trees, and gardens brought Janet much pleasure. Next. It was always a central part of Janet's connection to the natural world and a bit of heaven for a succession of family border collies. Thank you, Janet, for enriching all of us with your expertise, friendship, and passion. You will be missed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deb. That was wonderful. Does anybody have anything else to say? Are there any comments in the chat or anything? Anyway, it was wonderful. Thank you very much. Now we'll have a tribute to Barbara Brown by looking at Amanda Lawrence, by Ruth O'Leary.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any photos of Barb with everybody being at home. Nobody had any access. But I'd just like to say a few words. In early March of this year, we got news that our friend Barbara Brown had died. Barb had been out on sick leave from the AMNH for a couple of months, and while we knew that she was unwell, we were stunned and upset at the news of her passing. As is so often the case, we had expected her to recover, to come back to the museum, and to go out for lunch and beers again. Barb served as a curatorial associate in the Department of Ichthyology, American Museum of Natural History for over 35 years. In her long tenure as a curation management head for the department, Barb oversaw extensive growth of the collections, vastly increased usage, 2 major moves and reorganizations, an NSF-supported collections improvement grant, and 1 whole-scale renovation of the department offices and facilities. In 2011, Barb was a founding member of the AMNH Collection Managers Group, who meet monthly to share ideas and solutions regarding collections management issues. The group was founded when Chris Johnson and myself approached Barb for her advice and mentoring. We had both been recently promoted to management level and felt a bit at sea in our new roles. As a seasoned collection manager, Barb offered support, a sympathetic ear, and good advice. She was a much-loved member of the group and will be sorely missed at the aforementioned lunches and beers. As many of you know, Barb was also an active participant in the wider collections community for many years and served as treasurer to SPNHC from 2006 until 2012. She was responsible for the financial and membership management of the Society and oversaw the transition to an online membership database, which had a significant impact on the success of the Society. Barb's death occurred just as New York City was succumbing to the chaos of the pandemic. And as a consequence, most of us at the museum were unable to attend her wake and funeral. Since Barb was a proud Irish American, I feel a particular loss in not having been able to wake her properly, to raise a glass to her memory and share stories, memories, and laughs with her other friends. At the AMNH, whenever the world returns to a semblance of normality, we plan to gather and hold another belated wake to remember and honor Barb. She wouldn't want a fuss, but I know she would enjoy the gathering, especially the laughs. I'd like to close by reading a poem by Seamus Heaney. Heaney came from a large Irish family, as did Barb. In the wake of his mother dying, he writes about his memories of spending rare time alone with her as a child, and I think Barb would appreciate it. When all the others were away at Mass, I was all hers as we peeled potatoes. They broke the silence, let fall one by one, like solder weeping off the soldering iron. Cold comfort set between us, things to share, gleaming in a bucket of clean water, and again let fall. Little pleasant splashes from each other's work would bring us to our senses. So while the parish priest at her bedside went hammer and tongs at the prayers for the dying, and some were responding and some were crying, I remembered her head bent towards my head, her breath in mine, our fluent dripping knives, never closer the whole rest of our lives. Rest in peace, Barb.
That was lovely, Ruth. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess now it's time to move on to awards. And I'll hand things over to Linda Ford.
Sorry.
Take your time. We're all a little emotional.
It got company.
We're all a little emotional.
Yeah. All right, Barb. Can you give me just a second?
Yes, we can. We
A
can.
coffee
We
break.
can just-
No, sorry. Barb will be deeply missed. Thank you, Ruth. So trying to move to a happy subject from colleagues we will deeply miss. As chair of the Recognitions and Grants Committee, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who helped with the awards process. Also, it's a privilege to recognize those members who made contributions to the Society and our profession. The first award I'd like to name is the Farber Innovation Grant. As you know, it used to be the Farber Research Grant, but just this last year, Council approved the changing of the name. And I'm excited to report the winner is from North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in Raleigh, North Carolina, for the proposal Pyrite Disease and Clay Minerals, the Threat to Natural History Collections. So if everybody could raise their thumb or clap for, unfortunately, he won't get to shake the president's hand, but
I'll do a virtual handshake.
But Chris will get a $1,000 certificate for this grant.
I hope it's a check, $1,000.
Excuse me, a check. I forgot what I said. Anyway.
Congratulations. I'll just say, instead of a handshake, congratulations, Chris. Well done. And we hope that the funding helps you to further your study. And we hope to hear about it at a future spinach meeting.
And also that's one of the conditions of the award is to present. So Chris, you're on the hot seat in front of everybody. This year was a busy year. And so the Society has 3 special service awards to present. The first special service award is to Lisa Elkin and Chris Norris for their 4-year professional efforts and editing expertise on the book, Preventative Conservation Collection Storage, which has been well received and highly praised, a collaboration spinach publication. So as the treasurer as our acting treasurer gave the report, it's been a very successful book. So if we could all and say thank you.
And
thank
again,
you to them.
To Chris and Lisa, I extend my hand and give you my congratulations on a job well done, which has been a great benefit. I know it was a bit of work, but it's paid off well, and we appreciate it very much.
And this award, this particular recognition will receive a plaque, so they can rotate it. The next special service award is to the Spinach Emergency Ad Hoc Finance Committee, which was a sessional committee that Barbara created for their diligent and effective efforts to assess and apprise the finances of the society. The committee members were Ruth O'Leary, Lisa Palmer, and Sue McLaren, all of which has served as spinach treasurers in the past and got us through a bit of a speed bump. So
again, and my very heartfelt thanks. I think to make that clear, you saved our lives. So thank you so much.
And then the last special service award is to the Spinach Organizing Committee for the 2020 Spinach meeting for organizing the 35th annual and the first virtual meeting of the society. We usually have an award that goes to the local organizing committee, but this committee, Barbara was named very quickly, and personally, I think they've done an excellent job, and I think that bears out by the attendance that we've had. The committee members include, and this is in alphabetical order, Lance Appleton, Andy Bentley, Emily Breaker, Mariana D. Giacomo, sorry Mariana, Fandra Fang, Elspeth Haston, Shelley James, Talia Kareem, Amanda Lawrence, Paul Mayer, Rebecca Newberry, Cindy Oppitz, Deborah Paul, Dorit Wellens, and Brita Zimkus. So if we could extend a handshake to them or a clap to them, and Barbara.
And I would like to give you all a handshake. I wish I could also give you each a hug for the incredible job that you've done. As I said at the council meeting, this past few months have been difficult for all of us in very many ways. But one of the bright spots for me has been this weekly renewal of my admiration for the way that the spinach team just sits down and does the work together and collaborates. It's as beautiful a collaboration as I've ever seen. And I know it's been really hard with everything else that you've had going on in your own lives. So thank you for the meeting, and also just thank you for yet another demonstration of why spinach is such a wonderful organization.
So in the conclusion, as this committee is chaired by the past president, Barbara Thiers will be taking over for the next 2 years. I express my gratitude as stepping down to the committee members for making my time enjoyable and very easy. Also, the announcement for the award nominations and the grant applications will be coming out shortly by the new chair. And I urge Spinach members to look for these announcements as they can apply for the grants and also nominate their Spinach peers for the recognition awards. These awards do mean something. So thank you. It's been a pleasure to serve.
Thank you so much, Linda. Are you done giving me work now? Have we done it all? Or
I think so. I got
all right.
emails.
Otherwise, I'll start writing things down. Okay, now we're going to move on to upcoming meetings.
Bob, I have a hand up in the attendees.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I don't know whether that is left over from something else.
Is it in the Q&A? I
Suzanne.
don't see any open questions. Does someone have a question?
That was an error.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
It's now lowered, thanks.
So just an introduction to a discussion of upcoming meetings. You may have been expecting to hear a presentation about our 2021 meeting in San Francisco. However, that is not going to happen. The California Academy of Sciences, as some of you may have read, has been particularly hard hit by closures, and they are, financial crisis like many organizations, and that plus the decision by Deb Paul to leave, to retire. Sorry?
Deb Truck.
Deb Truck, sorry, God, I did it again. Deb Truck.
Tons of Debs, sorry.
Yeah, I know. Made it just untenable for them to hold the meeting this year. So they would like to postpone their hosting of the meeting until 2023. So most fortuitously, just at about the time that all this was coming down, we received an offer from Ruth Sayer of the American Institute for Conservation. I'm not sure exactly what the C word is, but AIC, to have us join them for their 2021 meeting in Jacksonville. So now I'm going to turn it over to Paul, who I think has a presentation about the meeting.
Right. So Ruth sent me her PowerPoint that she presented to us in the conference committee meeting, and I will share that with everyone today. And I've added a few little things to it. And so let me just start by trying to share this. All right. Is that working, I hope?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. So it's the American Institute for Conservation and Preserving Cultural Heritage. They want to have a joint meeting in 2021 in Jacksonville, Florida. Creativity, collaboration, and resilience, which all seem like good
themes?
Themes, yes, thank you. And we have another theme that we added on. You'll see that at the end of the show. So about the American Institute for Conservation, I know there's actually quite a few Spinach members who are also members of this. They have about 3,500 individuals representing more than 40 countries. So it's quite a bit bigger than Spinach. And a lot of domains of science, art, and history, treatments for research, collection care, education, and more. There's a good opportunity for having joint sessions, especially with collection care and object care. So this is the largest North American gathering of conservation and collection care professionals. Their meetings normally range from about 1,000 to 1,400. They're a little worried about the Jacksonville meeting because of everyone knows all the issues that are facing us today, especially with layoffs and cuts in staff and budgets. So they thought it would be a great idea to invite Spinach to join them to help with the numbers and keep things up. They normally have about 200 professional talks, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, abstracts presenting, and about 8 or 10 breakout sessions. The first 2 days are generally pre-sessions, so they have workshops, field trips, and apparently some thought-provoking symposiums. They have apparently a much bigger vendor booth exhibit hall than we do, with estimating 50 to 60 booths, so that should be interesting. And again, personal meetings are just a great way to network. It'll be held in Jacksonville, Florida, May 11th to the 15th, so it's a little bit earlier than what we normally do. And they have a slightly different way of getting abstracts. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the peer-driven abstract process, where they go under 3 review sessions. The first 2 days, I think I mentioned, are pre-session, are workshops and field trips. And so it should be a great opportunity for the AIC and SPNHC members to meet and talk with each other and hopefully share a lot of ideas. Jacksonville, Florida is known as the City of Connections. Lots of bridges connecting a river to the sea. Very pretty. This is what I added. This is a little map. Can you guys see my cursor?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, good. So the Jacksonville International Airport is about 15 miles north of the downtown area, and our hotel would be the Hyatt on the riverfront right downtown. It's about 140 miles to the south of Savannah, Georgia, which is a very pretty city. It's 166 miles to Tallahassee out to the west. Gainesville is just 70 miles down the I-10 and then 310 southwest of here. St. Augustine, Florida, 40 miles due south, and Orlando about 140 miles. The city is split by the St. Johns River, which is the longest river in Florida, about 300 miles long, but only an elevation change from the headwaters to the ocean of 30 feet. So it's not a fast-moving river at all, but you can see plenty of areas of marshlands and swamps, great for bird watching. Some little highlights to point out for Jacksonville: there's the Coomer Museum of Art and Gardens, and that's just a 2-mile hike along the river from our hotel to the art museum. There's also a Museum of Contemporary Art, Museum of Science and History. The Jacksonville Zoo and Garden is about 6 miles north of the downtown area. There's also Fort Caroline. This is I think it's a 16th century French fort in Florida. So the French weren't in Florida all that long, but here's a little bit of proof that they were. And then this area here where you see Big Talbot Island and Little Talbot Island state parks. And there's also a federal Timucuan Ecological and History Preserve, federal lands here. A lot of pristine shorelines, marshes, beaches, great place. I've been here a little bit. I drove through and we stopped and did a hike, so some great bird watching in this area. And also, if you've been on Netflix a lot and you're curious about big cat sanctuaries, there's the Caddy Shack Ranch Wildlife Sanctuary to the north up here by the airport. I looked it up, and it doesn't seem like they breed tigers or have all the bizarre stuff that you might have saw in certain Netflix movies, but it might be something you want to check out before you go. Here's just an aerial view showing Jacksonville looking north. The Blue Bridge is right by where our hotel will be. You can also, there's a pedestrian path on here so you can get some great views of the city. Here's the St. Johns River. This is I-95 coming through, Highway 13. And then just where I-95 crosses the river is where that art museum, the Coomer Art Museum and Gardens are. And that's a 2-mile walk along this river front here. You can see the zoo would be right up about here. And I think this is the airport about 15 miles away. This is another shot looking east, so you can see it's not very far from the ocean at all, about 20 miles. I think this is Atlantic and Neptune Beach over here, and then just to the north off the screen would be all those wildlife areas and state parks. Again, here's our hotel, and here's that Blue Bridge. Jacksonville is also known for a number of urban parks that they have, so it's a good chance to explore urban parks and how that works. This is also where the Jacksonville Jaguars play football, and I think that's the home to where the Gator Bowl is now played. And this is a roof slide, making connections. Again, that's the theme of the city, and I guess that would be a good theme for the meeting too, where art and nature's beauty connect. Here you can see a beautiful sunset over one of the marshlands in Duval County, and then one of the paintings of the lake in the Coomer Museum. She also mentioned that, you know, Jacksonville is not one of the top travel destinations for most folks traveling. And so there's a lot of unexpected and neat discoveries that we can make. And I assume that will also be true with meeting all of our colleagues in the AIC. Here's a picture of the hotel. You can see palm trees right on the river. It's over 100,000 square feet. We will be the only conference there at that time. So that's nice. There's that Blue Bridge too, just as a landmark. It's right in the heart of downtown. Downtown is very walkable, a lot of restaurants. This is a picture I swiped from their website showing this is one of the river decks or terraces overlooking the river. And so again, so they're pre-sessions, they just workshops, thought-provoking symposiums, and tours of the museum, some walking river areas, tours of St. Augustine, the Florida Museum in Gainesville. Deb Paul can talk to you about that, I think, and maybe up to Savannah, Georgia. Savannah is a very pretty city and very interesting history as a St. Augustine. And then this is something I compiled, a little timeline of what they told us, of what Ruth told us. They normally have submissions for abstracts open by now, but it's been delayed this year, so that's much earlier than what Spinach does. They hope to start getting abstracts in August. The final deadline will be early October. They'll be submitted to, you can submit your abstracts to 3 sessions, and then they'll go under 3 rounds of review, presumably one for each session you submit it to. And they normally get 400 to 500 abstracts submitted, but only accept about 200. So that's a little bit different than what we do. We normally accept a lot more. So they also have to, the hope is to have the slate of talks all set up and ready to go by Thanksgiving, which is quite a bit earlier than what we did for Chicago. I know that much. We didn't even start till after Christmas. It's up to the symposium organizers to publish abstracts. You can possibly do that in their journal, the Journal of American Institute for Conservation, and they generally do not publish the general symposia. Now here's the tough sell. They normally do not have an end of a meeting banquet and no dancing.
Oh dear.
But we brought that up, of course, immediately, and we hope we can work something out with the hotel and have that. I've seen what happens when we don't have dancing, and I don't want to be around for anything like that. I don't know where all the pitchforks came from, but anyways. So we are very hopeful that something can be arranged. They mentioned they have used the Firebird and Sked apps in the past, and they had issues with both of them, so I'm not sure what's going to be done this year. And our next step, is to meet with Ruth for some brainstorming sessions, which I think some of it will focus on the banquet and dancing. And at the conference committee meeting, we had 11 people who expressed interest in helping plan this, and so hopefully we'll get some really dedicated and hardworking folks to continue this on. It will be a lot different than normal Spinach meetings, I suspect, but I think it'll be quite nice and interesting, a little bit different. And I don't know how much work to prepare to expect, but coming just off of doing Chicago and working on this one, I can imagine even with Ruth and the AIC, it's going to be a lot of hard work no matter what. So thank you. AIC and Spinach joint meeting, stronger together, and I hope that's true. I'll stop sharing and take any questions.
Paul, you do have a question in the Q&A from Lori Benson. She asked, would Spinach talks go through the same review process?
Yes, they would. We may have some joint sessions with AIC and Spinach, especially with collection and object care, and then there'll be some sessions that will be entirely AIC and some that will be entirely Spinach, especially she noted that the digitization is not really a big part of the AIC conference normally.
Are there other questions? Okay. Any other points anybody wants to make about this? I will say that when I told you that Deb Trock, is not going to be president, and that then Paul is moving from president-elect very quickly, well, almost instantaneously into the president's position. I forgot to mention that the president-elect position will be filled by Julian Carter from the National Museum in Cardiff in Wales. So we welcome him, and it is traditionally the role of the president-elect to be involved with the conference committee as well. So we're all doing our best to catch up with everything. I think everything's worked out well for us so far because of our commitment and because of a little bit of luck. And I'm really excited that we will have a meeting next year, it looks like. So there was a time when it didn't look like we would. So this is wonderful. Now we'll all make some new friends and we will dance. I am quite certain of that. Okay, so could we have a motion to accept AIC's offer to hold the SPNHC 2021 meeting jointly with AIC in Jacksonville, Florida, May, it's actually 11th to the 15th, right? Yeah.
I motion that we have it. Carol Kelloff.
Thank you, Carol. And could we have a second?
Second, Mariana Di Giacomo.
Mariana is a second. All right, so we need a vote. I am keeping my hands in my lap, except to wait to say yes.
Aye.
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 Yes, aye.
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 Just give people a few more minutes to vote.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that seems to be finished.
Okay, the motion has passed. We will hopefully see everyone in Jacksonville next May. Now, we also need to take a motion and a vote on whether to accept the invitations from the National Museums of Scotland and the Royal Botanic Garden, Edinburgh, to co-host the 2022 meeting of the Society for the Preservation of Natural History Collections. Are there any questions about that, or do the organizers who are both here, Sam Curry and Elspeth, is there anything more you'd like to say before we take a vote?
Hi. Yes, I think we had such an amazing lineup for this year. We definitely would like to do something equally as good, and we are looking at possible partners because we believe that adds value to a conference. You know, talking to different people from different fields. We would very much like to take this on, having put so much effort and energy into this year's unfortunately postponed one. You guys are doing a great job. So yes, please accept it.
Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, someone asks about a date, if you have picked out dates.
We do. I don't have them at hand, but it was pretty similar to this week. Elspeth, do you have it at hand?
I'm just looking as well. Sorry, I wasn't quite ready, but it's approximately the same time.
Okay, that's good enough. I want to read a comment from the chat from Saul Tankoff, who says, "And a hybrid visual and present, an in-person conference could be a good idea, especially for those from outside countries." And it is something to keep in mind. We have had such an amazing response this year, and I guess that's something we'll be talking about. Is how can we continue to give meaningful content to people who are not able to attend and keep this great momentum going? I don't have an answer for you. I think this is all new. A hybrid conference is something I hear talked about. I've yet to sort of see a plan for how one would work, but I'm sure this is something that we'll be exploring. We would have now 1,800 registrants for this meeting, whereas, I don't know, the most we ever had in an in-person meeting must have been in the range of a 600 or something. So there's definitely interest beyond what we can do. And it looks as if the dates for the meeting are for the Edinburgh meeting are the 4th to the 10th of June, 2022.
So, Barbara, I would just like to say, yes, I think based on what you've managed to achieve with this conference, I am so impressed with how you've managed to achieve it. It's working really well, and I think we can learn a lot from this conference to take forwards into 2022.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thanks. Yeah, I think the committee can give you lots of lots of tips. One thing is be sure to have Slack. I'm not sure you can do this without Slack. It's been key to all the behind the scenes stuff going on. Okay, so are we? We didn't vote on this yet, did we? No. We're ready to have for someone to make a motion to accept the invitation.
I motion to accept the invitation, Linda.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Motion a second, Paul.
Paul motions to seconds the motion, and so now let's vote. Aye.
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 We'll just give people another couple minutes or a minute. All right, I'll end the poll.
Okay, the motion passed unanimously. Wonderful. So I want to take a minute now to bring up a topic that we discussed at council. I alluded to in my opening remarks at the plenary. And that is, first of all, I want to recognize that today is a day in the United States, it's being called Science Shutdown. It is a widely endorsed effort in the scientific community to shut down normal operations in order to recognize systemic racism that permeates society and science in the history of our country. And the activity that's recommended for people today is to be reading and studying and reflecting on ways to make our field of study more inclusive and to adjust our own perspectives so that we are personally more inclusive and understanding as well. We did not shut the meeting down today because it's an international meeting. People have prepared for it over a long period of time, but it is in our minds, and you will hear more about it in proceedings later today. But it does bring up the issue of what SPNHC, I'm sure you all belong to societies who have issued a statement or have made plans for how they will increase the diversity, increase their relevance to a greater segment of our population, and to do things particularly to fight racism in all of its forms. And SPNHC should make that commitment as well. We agreed this at the council meeting. With the conference coming up and everything else that's been happening, we haven't yet had a chance to formulate anything, nor are we inclined to just slap together a statement and put it on our website and call it done. That's not what we want to do. We want to make meaningful change. And so that's going to be a more deliberate process, which begins with listening and discussion. And so what we want to do is, first of all, I'd like to hear your thoughts on how we approach this. We discussed structurally, we discussed whether or not we should have a diversity committee, or whether we should have a diversity and inclusion sort of representative on all of our SPNHC committees. And we talked a little bit about specific things we might do. It's absolutely clear that we want participation from the membership in this. We don't want it to be just the council, just the exec. We want it to be from members, and from as wide a variety of members, from perspectives, ages, careers, backgrounds as possible. So first of all, I'm first going to ask for your comments, and then I'm going to ask for those of you who would be interested in being involved in this effort to state that interest, and then we'll be taking notes and we'll be in touch with you. So just reading from the comments, Rebecca says we should have Equity and Inclusion Committee and representatives on the committee. Sure, absolutely. If you'd like to, I think you could speak if you want. You think you just have to, what, raise your hand or something, or?
Yeah, if you want to speak, just raise your hand and either Andy and I will allow you to do that.
You're more than welcome to make your comments in the chat, but it might be just easier to talk. So what do we think are we in favor of the idea of a diversity committee of some name, and then also representatives? Is that as Rebecca suggested? Yes, see some people saying yes. Okay. I see a number of people who say they're willing to be involved. That's fabulous. There was something, this is from Marcy. Equity committee is a great idea. Possibly also some sort of financial support to encourage travel and attendance and promote diversity. That's a great idea too. I was thinking of that. If we have the opportunity, but also wouldn't it be great if we could work towards something maybe bigger, more along the line of the Faber Award, which I know is a lot of money, but that could be for helping people to develop a program in their collection that is directly related to reaching groups in their community, to reaching communities, people of color, and also just underrepresented groups in general in science. To develop new programs and museums that work with collections. Ruth?
Hey guys, so to Barbara's point about finances and Marcy as well, just off the top of my head, Spinach, I believe, has more money right now in the bank than we've had in an awful long time. We've had extremely generous donations from a series of LOCs that had very successful annual meetings. So we've had a lot of money come in. We have a lot of money sitting both in investments and in our checking account. And in the past, when we've wanted to raise some extra funds for travel grants, as Marcy was saying and so on, or the Faber grant, we've put out a call for extra donations and all the rest. And that's great, and that's worth doing. But we actually have an awful lot of money in the bank. Yeah. And, to my knowledge, we don't have any huge projects coming up, like the book project where we knew we would be spending $39,000 on it and all the rest. And in actual fact, we'll make that money back. But this might be a good opportunity to take a good hard look at the cash we have in reserves that's just sitting there, that's not planned for anything else, and, set up a sustainable program that we can fund, that we already have the money for. We're already way ahead of it financially, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you say that, because that was kind of my thought too. I mean, I've never been involved with the finances of a society before, but I've gotten a little bit familiar in the past weeks, and I thought, yeah, I mean, we actually have money here, and I'm not sure exactly what we're stockpiling it for. So this is pretty much an ideal situation, I think. So we could form a group of folks, who could propose activities, and we can actually maybe, you'll have to winnow them down and decide what the best activities are. We can actually, act on them and have some new programs. So it's very exciting. And I am going to leave the formation of the committee to Paul, because he's becoming the president of it. But I think I'm seeing all sorts of expressions. Please state in your in the chat, state your name and an expression, a specific expression of interest if you want to be involved in some way, and we'll be in touch. Are there any other points of view or perspectives or any ideas, other specific ideas someone would like to raise? Marcy proposes a session for 2021 that allows members to speak about careers in science from the minority perspective, or whatever, the choice word that you want to use there. That would be excellent too. So again, the idea of a committee to kind of steer the ship, plus representation on every committee, seems like it would cover the bases as far as I can see, unless I'm missing something.
Barbara, we have a couple of people that want to talk.
Please.
Rebecca first, and then I think Anna.
Hi, this is Rebecca Newberry. I'm the chair of the Conservation Committee. I think that we can broaden the focus, obviously, beyond the United States of America to look at equity and inclusion in terms of decolonizing museums as they are. There was a great talk yesterday, I think it was by Wesser, on zoos and the sort of imperialistic history of zoos. That was really great. I think we can continue to work on that, and also to think about centering Indigenous voices in science and in museum collections. That's all.
Really great. I think it was Anna.
Yeah, I think I'm unmuted. I put a link in there that has come from our geo colleagues, some of whom many of us know, and it's a call to action for an anti-racist science community. And I think that we could look to that. It gives some guidelines and some responses, even reaching out to them possibly to help us think of sort of a vision or plan for the society. That was something I was thinking of, to make sure that we're including the voices in the development of the people who can best inform this process.
You raise a point that I meant to mention, that sort of the third prong would be partner for some synergy with other organizations, and that's a great example there. Spinach we've done a lot of that in the past, partner with initiatives with similar objectives. That's why we have so many different society representatives. It's one of our great strengths. So we should definitely, in addition to what we do ourselves, we should consider partnerships where we can contribute and share benefits for our members.
And Anna, I just reposted that link.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I don't think there's any vote to be taken here. This is just an introduction of an initiative. I think we've had lots of, as I see the chat scrolling by, there's lots of expressions of interest, which is wonderful. So I don't think there's anything more to say on that right now. Please, there will be, this is still a theme that's going to be mentioned in a symposium later today. I hope you'll all attend there. There'll be some thought-provoking presentations.
Barb, can I say a word?
Please, yes, I was hoping you would.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Hey, y'all. So I'm trying not to be, this is being really difficult, and a lot of you are not aware. So we all take this very seriously, and trying to figure out what to do has been incredibly difficult. So there are members of our symposium who feel we should follow the Black and STEM and do nothing, and that we should cancel the symposium. And I felt canceling one symposium and not another, how does that make the other symposium? Anyway, the road has been very difficult, and it continues to be even to this moment. I felt it was important that we make it an international conversation. People's experiences that people have brought up here, it may be Black and STEM here, but it's Indigenous peoples in Australia or in Canada, etc. It's a bigger issue, and we need to recognize the international community that's coming to this. So it's a very difficult balance, and we don't want to necessarily change the topic of the symposium, since it was all about people and infrastructure. So, but we haven't necessarily, thank you, Deb, thank you, hasn't necessarily been, we're not experts. We don't want to get into a situation where we haven't been trained and we're not authorities, and we can listen and talk, but we can't. So anyway, I just want you to know right now, we are struggling with what to do. And I think we will have a symposium, but I can't really tell you that yet. If we don't, you could see that there will be recordings. I would rather use it as an opportunity to have a discussion with the people who do come and open it up. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you for listening.
Deb, we recognize from your voice how difficult this has been. It's a very difficult decision. Timing was against us here, and there are many things to weigh. And I know we all appreciate how much love and thought and care you've put into this. So whatever you decide to do, we'll know that you've done it with the most thoughtful process that you could have applied to it. So thank you. Okay, now I have to recover. We're getting near the end. There is one announcement I haven't made, and I'd like to make it now. And that is that, as we mentioned, Melinda Peters was unable to complete her term as treasurer. This happened in mid-May, and at that time I had all materials sent to me, because by the SPNHC bylaws, it's only the president and the treasurer who are allowed to sort of pay bills, make financial decisions. So pretty much my worst nightmare, gotta say, but I temporarily became the SPNHC treasurer. And with Ruth's terrific help, I have been trying to keep up with that role. Now, I mean, the complication we have is changing bank accounts from one place to another is a big deal. And I knew I wasn't going to be doing this long term. So we've been trying to make it work. I will say Amanda has been extremely cooperative and helpful, continues to be. But between her and I, we are managing to pay the bills, to keep track of the expenses. But I am so happy to announce that we do have a new treasurer. You will remember her from her excellent management of the program in Chicago. It's Teresa Riley. Is Teresa here?
Yes, she is.
Just shout out to Teresa. Thank you so much. We welcome you aboard, and over the next few weeks, we'll be working on the process of transferring everything. I have stuff now, and I'll be transferring it on to her. In that connection, we voted at the council meeting to reinstate the finance committee. The finance committee used to exist, and it was basically about advising on investments and things like that. And I guess it, because Ruth did such a superlative job, there really seemed to be very little reason for it. So it was more or less disbanded. It was disbanded. And we're reinstating it not in a different role, and not really necessarily to be advising on investments, but just to be providing a support system to the treasurer. It's somebody to whom the treasurer can check in, maybe on a quarterly basis, to see how things are going, to get some perspective. Paul will appoint this committee. I'm sure he will draw upon past treasurers to be advisors, and they'll just serve as an advisory group for the treasurer, because it is a difficult job. Ruth has laid out step by step what you do every day, so the instructions are clear, but there are still places and times when you sort of want some reinforcement and some just to know that you're doing it right. So we will have a new treasurer, and we also will have a support for that treasurer in the form of a finance committee. So I can't tell you how relieved I am to be able to announce that. If you knew how last minute this was, like Monday, like Monday afternoon. But anyway, it's all good now. Are there any questions or comments on that? Okay, is there any old business? It doesn't seem so. So then I want to thank our two outgoing members at large whose terms are ending with this meeting. That would be Amanda Lawrence, who served from 2017 to 2020, and Deb Paul, who served for the same period. They really went out with a bang. They have worked so hard on this virtual meeting, and we look forward to them continuing to be involved in the society in whatever roles they choose to. They're very valued members, and we are letting them go from this position, but we are hardly letting them go from being involved in the leadership of our society. So thank you very much to them. And I want to welcome our two new mals, who are Shelley James, who has worked brilliantly from afar on a terrible schedule as part of the organizing team for this meeting from Western Australia, and also to Randy Singer, who is also been elected as Mal, and also Brita Zimkus. We have 3. Did I say 2? We have 3. Brita Zimkus as well, who leaves the position of head of the Best Practices Committee, where she's done a brilliant job on that. So we want to welcome all of them and look forward to their active participation. I know they will. Okay, so now it's time for me to say that we're going to adjourn the meeting, and I am going to be turning the presidency over to Paul Mayer. We are all going to help Paul in every way he can, who is stepping in, missing a giant step of 2 years preparation as president-elect. So we're all going to help him in every way that we can. I know he'll do a brilliant job. The way the Chicago meeting went and everything since, even today, the care with which he put together the presentation for next year, I think only good things will come. So I just want to say that I have so enjoyed being the president of Spinach. Everything that hasn't always been easy. This last month, I'm not going to lie, it's been a little challenging. But this meeting and the way it's come off has reaffirmed and reminded me, you know, why I love Spinach and why I will continue to support it in every way I can. So over to Paul. Paul, I'll be putting this little sucker in the mail to you. And we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Linda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. All right, everyone. We'll see you at the conferences. Enjoy. Bye-bye.